다기 주신 기그 소나지 조가 대지 상제 두바쇼 상계 저런 소지 저런 천조반두 다니 양수지 다기 주신 기그 소나지 조가 대지 상제 두바쇼
다디 쉬야디 취인 되바세 취인 되바세디 취긴 세디 라시네리 심지 취니 디만다 제베 심지 취니 들어 라시네리 시기야리 아니 취긴 시기야리 자산 취긴 취인 되바세디 취인 되바세디去生心的那个的偏他举个也对吧？是的，对吧？这样的，最近对吧？是的，生心的那个的偏的举个也是，
So here tonight we are going to talk about Nagarjuna's text in praise of Dharmadhatu. Hi, can you hear me? Hi. And so tonight we are going to talk about Nagarjuna's text in praise of Dharmadhatu. So basically, Dharmadhatu is, we are talking about the quality of our mind. That mind totally devoid of any stains. And so when we think about that Dharmadhatu, the quality of that mind, we're talking about the mind which is lacking the total intrinsic nature. The mind that is totally free of the, what you call the stains and so on. And Nagarjuna used the word here in praise. And here we are praising, basically we're talking about this wonderful quality. And as we really talk about the praises or the wonderful qualities, we are basically talking about the powerful benefit of that mind, the benefit of that Dharmadhatu. As we describe all these wonderful qualities, indirectly we're really thinking about this benefit of attaining such qualities.
ngaranzugi semgi tingdu ta sem rashime basaya di jigje ani sem seri kurang jigje ta jila rashine ri sigiyari jila gengyur giri sigiyari ta ngaranzugi rashine ri di jangya di dongbani kuyan kumya di dongbani kuyan kumsuna rashi aranzugi sem rashingi meba tingi ya kone kumbe di chi Jimarabati ma sabru chin, and ya che, and the Sanjigi Chubula Dubiari. Then Genjubiri Siati Sim Pena Chambata Nijita, and each Anjubu Sim Kunya, and each Chimbata, Sujim the Sobasum Suna, Genjubiri Diakona Compit Chin, Subuju Dria, Subudu Jigi Chati. 수구두지기 차지 문주 생기 땡도 여버리 추구두지기 차지 생기 땡도 여버지 어디 등이 야게 당야디 추구두지기 디 야게 당야디 동반이 되는 건가 네 거야 야게치 아니 추구를 저지 아니 디네 지 장바다 인지도 제주고 쓰면서 특히 차도수 ngaranzugi lobala teni sangi sai sugi gurung gunyu bacher tiya kone complete chini ani sugu drug ya rati yesa ani gechim bishi bari jin bari ta ani chugu rashineri se ati genju guri se ati aranzu kan 생기된 뒤에 추구 결혼 제유 수구 결혼 제유 다 등이 야게 근데 스탄 그래서는 추구도 제디 야게 당야도 동반이 되고 수구도 야게 당야디 아니 잠바딩이 지라서 봐 진이 진수 파르도 침도 나야 봐 어떠수 그제 롭트네 수수께끼 지지 롭트네 지지기 야게 주더니 아니 수구주의 제가 다 녀를 두비야레스
So basically, when we talk about attaining the wonderful qualities, we are really striving to attain the Dharmakaya, which is the quality of the Buddha's mind. And the second is Rupakaya, which is the form body. One is the essence body, the other is the form body. So really to realize or to attain these two bodies, we really attain full enlightenment. And so one thing really we have to realize in our mind is that our mind is the most powerful and has the most wonderful quality of attaining these two qualities. Our mind has this natural seed or the foundation for us to achieve these two bodies. One is the Dharmakaya, it's a Sanskrit word. I'm sure you're using this word, right? Dharmakaya, and the Rupakaya, the other, the form body. And so we have this kind of innate foundation or the quality to attain these wonderful qualities. And then the question is, how do we do that? So for attaining the Dharmakaya, we really have to train ourselves in practicing and realizing emptiness. This training in the wisdom emptiness is really enable us to attain the Dharmakaya. And then on the other hand, training in compassion, loving kindness, practice of generosity, and others really enable us to attain this wonderful quality of a form body or the Rupakaya. So we first have to be clear of what we wanted to attain, which is the two kayas, the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. And then we work with the corresponding courses. So the courses of the Dharmakaya is the practicing on wisdom emptiness. The courses of the Rupakaya is practicing on compassion and loving kindness and generosity. And so having, really making this clear to ourselves, then we can practice accordingly. And as we use the word sometimes, the wisdom part of the practice, the method part of the practice, and so obviously the wisdom part of the practice for us, is to attain the Dharmakaya. The method part of the practice is enabling us to attain Rupakaya. So this we talked already before. And so what's really important here is to realize our mind has this wonderful quality to really attain these, both the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. And how do we do that? We really work with the relevant courses, practicing wisdom emptiness for the purpose of attaining Dharmakaya, the practicing of the compassion, loving kindness, generosity, and so on. The first, the fifth part of the perfection, the six perfections, really is more about attaining the Rupakaya. And so that's what we are talking about here when we talk about the qualities, the quality of the mind, and so on.
Oh, this and that. Choosing the getting which they should do, degrees, choosing the around Gangalo, something the which 가르수그래. 아니 운주 라마 집에 나는 데메 상계세요 지야리. 어디 데메 상계세요 디 취기인 들으시게. 데메네 지메 얼마냐 그랑 몰라. 단 상계 인식이 한 말이지. 데메네 배란신기 란신기 지메 다우데바. 그랑 몰라 란신기 지메 다우데바. 근데 취 몰라 녀바야 말바. 디나 시스템 뭐지? 라신네리시아디 지마 탐제도 제딩이지. 니야 상계에서는 상계 말이. 데메 상계 시기야리. 데메 상계라마나 있다. 디 라신이 내리디 sem chungi tungundu jeba di se는 데메 상계 문도 비와 인식을. 아니 상계 주고 많다 말이. 문도 규르시아디 나란주 단독 동반이 무슨도 떠내야 혼도 교와 말이다. 제선다 되메상계선에 어디시기야리. 제선 디 나란주 그때 디바티 마다야 유야 소는 그 소야 사야 유야 디다 semran 신기 매바 인사 sem이야 제다야 유야리. 야 샘디마 지야에 버지 샘 핀디 예야디 지 저왕은 버지는 마셈 지야 삼부지 제니야 샘 야 권에 본비도 줘야야 디에스 니 디유상은 주 산지 주고 반세야디 배 비야 예버티다 조디 대투베르 semran 신기 매세 어디에 산다디 나란주기 그래서 야게 돈야디 개침부시 다게 야게 돈야디 그래서 동반이 꿈이야디 버리 다 동반이 꿈은 편침부시 위야래 어디에 산다 언제 어디에 스타트한데디
So when we talk about the quality of our mind, and when we talk about the Dharmadhatu, we shouldn't really miss the important point, which is by really talking about the quality of our mind, we're talking about the possibility of enlightenment. And when you look at the nature of the mind really is totally devoid of intrinsic nature. And because it's lacking the intrinsic nature, it can be really purified, it can be cleansed. The stands are not permanent, the nature of the intrinsic mind, the nature of the mind. The stands, such as afflictions and so on, are really the temporary stands, and they can be removed from our mind through practicing wisdom, emptiness, and so on. And so that's why studying on the subject of Dharmadhatu is important, because it's really leading us to a very conclusive decision that the stands, which really kind of attach to our mind, are not really the nature of the mind, but they are rather like alien or rather like a temporary or transitional aspect of the mind, and they can be removed. And once we really are able to establish that, then we see that enlightenment is possible. So that's what we're talking about. Therefore, this whole discussion about the Dharmadhatu is really important for us. And so that's in the Guru Yoga Puja, Guru Puja, by the Penjin Losang Chogyam. He used the word Dharma Sangye, the very original and the Buddhahood. He's really referring to this very kind of unstained, and the very kind of authentic the quality and the nature of the mind. And the nature of the mind itself is clear, it's bright, totally lacking the intrinsic nature. And therefore, all the stains temporarily, hanging to the mind, it can be removed. And just like water, the nature of the water is clear. And then, when the water is kind of stirred or mixed with others, it kind of temporarily become or diluted or become kind of dirty. But that can be cleared because the nature of the water itself is not polluted or stained, or the nature of the water is not a stain or stainness and so on. And so really looking at the quality of the mind, looking at the quality of the kind of Dharmadhatu, then we can really tell ourselves that whatever the stains, the afflictions right now is surrounding our body, they can be removed. They can be cleared away through practicing wisdom, emptiness, and so on. And so the the nature of the Dharma can be realized through practicing the wisdom, emptiness, and collecting merits. And merely, then some people say, oh, just realizing emptiness equals to total full enlightenment. That is also not the case. The realizing emptiness itself doesn't equal to full enlightenment, because you have to really collect enough merits, really to gain the necessary, if you like, the qualities, and so on. And then when we realized that, this wonderful quality of the Dharmadhatu, when we realized the stains, that are attached temporarily to our mind is removable. And when we realize that, then it really inspires us to study. And this is where we're coming from, because in this Dharmadhatu, Impress of the Dharmadhatu, it basically talk about the all wonderful qualities of the Dharmadhatu by praising these qualities by Nagarjuna.
That's the Churimbuchi Doles, Paji Tambunga Yari, Paji Tambunga like Kebe Patu Lovale, Ni Karasure, Ni Kangi Chigi Nangantis, Tombani Tenti, Ani Karasure. Tedum da Jedi Nemba di Sunum Chesi, Diligence Sunum Chesi. Paji Tambunga Butile, Kieve Batu Lovale, and Sherry Parutu Chimbati, Tedum da Jedi Nemba di Sunum Chesi. The Garlesinum Neva Tamji, Zawadi Datun in the theatre, and sing it to us in Zimbabwe sing it. Tombani comes and never tangy zawajing it, never nubiary. Tell a tedum that you guess on the Tombani, tedum giving a Sunam Chimbusaya the Carasana, and never tangy juneti. Should I see to one thing but timbre? Just that Chimbala Sobatusugi, Senagin Buchigiarity. I Sudungi Nimbuchigia Mari, Sebagi Nimbuchigia Mari. To get the Rarangi Nimbuchevale Mishu, Rarangi Locho Nimbuchevale Mishu, Chigi, Kangolo Nimbuche to be a Mari. A sheriff Pachensi Atigi, and never tangy Nimbuchigari, Senagi Nimbuchigari, Chujigi Nimbuchigari. Kondugan Bachigari, Kanga Chigi, Singasa, Sunam Chimbasagi, Arisati, Tiri, Chasa, Tombani Siati, Tedum Satune, 대도 동반이 생기 때 인지 세리 삼사를 간제 이남이나세 집에 대동래 산에 손음 전부 서기 그래. 저선 다 된데 취이 또 버서야지 동반이 된전데 시기야 돼.
In the Sutra of the Precious Child, I forgot the Sanskrit name for this sutra. In that sutra, it talks about the benefit of practicing wisdom emptiness, and saying that the practicing of wisdom emptiness is no match, even for practicing the first fifth perfection, from the generosity to the samadhi, or the meditative stage. If you practice this for eons, still it's not much, simply for having a doubt on the wisdom of wisdom emptiness. And then people say, wow, that's not possible. And the Rinpoche explains really very clearly here, and he said, if you practice the perfection of the first fifth perfection of wisdom, and let's say you practice the perfection of generosity for many years, it's only really help become the antidote for stinginess and attachment. By practicing generosity, it maybe help you overcome your gross attachment to materials and so on. And the practicing generosity would not go beyond that. And then, of course, you have to practice discipline separately to really contain your three doors and your senses. And then, if you practice that for many years, it would really help to really contain your the senses, or the desire, contain your desire through sensual contact. But it would not go beyond that. It wouldn't help for your practicing of generosity. It wouldn't really solve the problem of other, let's say, concentration and so on. And basically, these, the individual practices only deals with the relevant individual issues. And that's, pretty much. Then, if we look at the root of all problems, the root of all the kind of fault, and it comes to really the grasping, the self-grasping mind, this self-centered, the self-grasping mind, Denzin. And if you really observe carefully, everything, all the afflictions, including the opposite of the five perfections, or the opposite of that, is really caused by this mistaken view, the pervert view, the self-grasping view. And that's really leading us to all this other fault. And then the opposite of, or the antidote of a self-grasping mind, if you like, is the wisdom emptiness. Sometimes they use the word selflessness concept. When you really understand the concept about the emptiness, then it directly hits on this self-grasping mind. As a result, it's kind of loosening and cracking all the afflictions like anger, attachment, stinginess, and so on. And now you can make sense. If you even have a doubt about this selflessness, if you have a doubt about this self-grasping mind, it's already kind of cracking a lot of the stands. And because of that, the precious Sutra of Child is saying that if you spend aeons, many years practicing generosity and discipline, it's no much to maybe say a simple meditation on emptiness. And because the application is such that even you have doubt on the wisdom emptiness, it already kind of cracking some of the faults of our mind. And because of this, wisdom emptiness is really important in our practices, dealing with afflictions. And because of that, Dharmadhatu is important. Really, truly understanding Dharmadhatu, it has a huge power in being the direct antidote to all the kind of problems like afflictions and attachment and so on. And because of this, this teaching that we're going through is important.
Oh, that the Shishibe Zugi Dole, Tombanila Meve Gansati, Nesun to Meton Sumberi, Tombanila, Meve, Meve Simjeti, Nesun to Meton Chugi, the Shishibe Chugi Zugi Dole in the Sumberi. Tine Magita Dole. 아니 참이 집에 간사디기 최디 동반이기 된 트네 주지 매버잖아 디 레디 참이 레디 레기 집에 인방 남미마스 레기 집에스 남미마스 산지기 레기 집에 참이 제수네 디 레기 집에 인바팅 남미마스 제네 다 간제 동반이기 된 디 상당히는 내지티버티 참이제네야 다 두리스 그래서는 그 참이기 디베기 님보다 초디기부터 띵버리 동반이 군야디 그래서는 나란두기 네바 탐저 자와 다 두는 것이냐 지레바 동반이도 그 공수는 네바 탐제기 님부지기를 제사 단대 마케타에 돌에 디송도가 대시시베 주기 돌에 디송버리자사 저 동반이래야 세므라 신기 메바시아딜 지간제제도 제 당제제 지 진배제지고야 개침부 인버리
Likewise, and many other sutras also talks about the power of the shunyata, the emptiness. And in one of the Tathagata Treasure Sutra, talks about the people who admire, even just not mentioned by practicing, but people who had admiration to emptiness. The shunyata, is so powerful. Its kind of effect is powerful. It prevents the person from taking rebirth in lower realm. It prevents the person, being falling into lower realms. Merely having this admiration in emptiness, having this kind of pleasant, feelings toward emptiness, saves us a lot of travel. So that's what the sutra is saying. And also another sutra, the Magita, the sutra of the Magita, it's also saying the really practicing emptiness is the best means to overcome the great direct fruition, the sin or the negative falls. And this is why, because the direct fruition, I think the direct fruition consequences is very powerful, because you accumulated really very powerful negative deeds. And because of that, you already generated very powerful negative consequences. And only through practicing wisdom emptiness, we can overcome and we can really pacify or purify that kind of serious consequences. Geshe-la said, why? People say, why? This is because all these kind of serious negative deeds are conducted, carried out under the influence of affliction. The affliction is, caused by self-grasping and perverted views. and so on. And the emptiness being the direct antidote to that, the mistaken view or the self-grasping mind. And therefore, the emptiness is the most powerful antidote of all the faults and so on. And that's why the sutras really talk about how powerful the practicing of emptiness in terms of preventing us from falling into negative realms. And then how do we really study emptiness? How do we realize emptiness? We do that through really understanding the nature of the true or the ultimate nature of the mind, which is lacking the intrinsic nature. And when we do investigate, when we analyze the nature of the mind, we realize it's really lacking this intrinsic nature, it's lacking this ultimate kind of concrete reality. And when we realize that, and then we're realizing the nature of the emptiness, and when we do that, it's directly hitting at the self-grasping mind, which really causes all these negative consequences, negative problems.
다드네 이제 자와디 가사님아 슈서기 자와디 응압중압진바 온주 쳔베네 저 당세야 되는 말이셔 스테이시로
And we left off at verse 57 last time.
다디 가리치기에서는 semra shingi meba soso rangi ba number tabati da gone phede neba di chinata 가르치기 resene tartulindi onju chembe nejo dang umekune seati da ishiti rangi ishiti chudi number tabati tarsobati chena 근데 고수문도 교수야. 고수문도 교하지. 제가 고수문도 교하 인사 다음에 수의직의 시제다 온주 침배 인고세 수의직의 시당 온주 침배 전주 선배 네 수금 오미 모주 조별 나와다. 스타티 취기 인증어 오미 첨부로 상계 패도 지리 돌려 타대 다티네 다단데 디고스 가르스는 심라 시기 매바 디 도베 소소도비 시럽디니 고네 건도 페네 타르토바나 가르스는 고숨 조그리스는 온주 준비네 저 세야되다 추구에 때 아니 우미 온주 챔피언네 저 당세대 추구디 때 온주 챔피언네 저 세야되다 온주 챔피언데 롱골이제 디네 다다 추구디 버리 네데 제가 온주 챔피언네 저 세야디 온주 챔피언데 네초디 추구디제 우미딩이 남제바 세대 롱구티셰 다 온주 첨부 세야디지다 온주 첨부디 온주 첨부 내초 세야디 추구티셰
온주 첨부는 롱구레스
아지다
인내지 추구레스
어디 제산다 디기 자와디기 온주 첨부 내초 세야디 추구디셰 우미딩이 남제바 세야디 롱구티셰 셰바 송부 세대다 셰바 송부 세대다 단다디 디기 슈부들에 가르치는 주부티셰 주부네 주부티셰 센데다 추구 롱구 주부 송티셰 디니 셰바 송부 찍도 체스 제바 교가스 다마모스 다디 제송도야 라신메베 땡도 리지버바 대순가 라신 메베 동반이 좀 리지버바 다들 이렇게 메베 지금 순간 간지 죽음을 내디야 취지군이 인고 취인고 내 뒤에서 아니 뒤숨도 찍도 되봐 제버기와 담아 제버기와 하대번 매가 아니 제버기와 오yen 매버 지임한테 아니 파발로도 다 마우스 뭔가로도 그냥 마우스에 타대번 매봐 편지 ranshim mebe ngor jeba kyubati dama osite kanchi tarto be kusum yari te kusum te ranshim ruba mares ti sum te ranshim mebe mando anya logic pare esse ajachi
So, verse 57. The mighty lords of a magnificent abode, the beautiful garments of Akanista, and consciousness, the three of these together can be blended into one, I dare to say. And so, the essence of this verse is really talking about the, again, the quality of wisdom emptiness, which is the lack of intrinsic nature in mind. And saying when you really realize this wisdom mind, the lack of intrinsic nature in mind, then it really enables you to realize Dharmakaya. The mighty Lord's magnificent abode is equal to Dharmakaya. It will help you to realize the Dharmakaya. The second, the beautiful domains of the Akanista, which is talking about the lungu, enjoyment body. So that's lungu. And then, and the consciousness, which is talking about, and the three of these together, which is talking about the nirvana kaya. Nirvanakaya, which is the really the manifestation aspect of the enlightenment. And so through really realizing that the Dharmadhatu, which is the totally devoid of intrinsic nature in mind, when you realize that, you also then, it helps you to realizing these three really kayas. And when these three kayas, not only you really realize the three kayas, and they can be blended into one. And why they can be blended? Because they all share the same quality. The Dharmakaya, the enjoyment body, the Nirvanakaya. And they share one essential quality. What is that? It's the lacking of intrinsic nature in mind. And so that's the essential part of the verse 57. And as Nagarjuna himself, making this assertive statement, saying, I, the Nagarjuna, can really confirm that when you realized Dharmadhatu, then you are also realizing Dharmakaya, the Rupakaya, and the Nirvanakaya. And so that's why, the Dharmadhatu has a really powerful benefit if you're able to realize that. So that's the essential really meaning of that verse.
That's the word Shiva said,
집에 양은 용진다습니다.
집에는 용진 던스래.
네. 집에는 용기다. 방면에는 나서니 공주 전부 스바미 깨버시 규강이 인수 좋아스도.
다티네. 다 집에 니버니 시아데다디 니버디 지베나나 군기당 하베 나나 나조니 우주 친구 제와니 개버치 주간이 스타디 시디 디제된도 다든데 집에 나나 용킨 당시 집에 수수기우제 디다 용킨 세디 집에 나는 용킨 세디 뷰구디시 다디 디제된도 개버 집에 수수커기 나나 용킨디 뷰베고 개버 마부르슈바 스타디네 주부디 먼저 수수교 레다 인데 그것은 인제버리 제사지 인생하는 줄 초주부 세야디 디제사 지바 세야디 용기 세야디 지바 세야디 수수교제 용기 세야디 주부디시 알려디시
Verse 58, the first line, for the immature, it renders total knowledge. Immature, we're talking about ordinary being. And the total, the rendering the total knowledge is talking about the Nirvana Kaya, the Nirvana Kaya, the manifestation aspect of the enlightenment activity.
되네 아니 가르쳐 그래 밥에 나나 나저 인세디 롱구디 자세 봐봐 코네 무슨 주인스 자세 봐봐 인데 롱구 친이디 아니 네번한데스 코르다바 코르니바 자세 봐봐 코네 고아스 내게바 우리 코나를 쇼바 뒤에바 뒤지 코야 마돈도 받도 쇼바 추에바 추티바 준비 준비시 손바 아니 구네바 구체에서 무슨 주장이 되게서解决되었어 다티 롱구디 저자다 롱구디 아니 나나들은 롱구 롱구제 토야메 제 롱구세디 롱구 코르디 다네오 메시아제리 상게 담부 상게 세디 네오 밀레 상게시 이네 마 두고레 제인도 니 잠불리리가 심제부터 잠불리리 두가테 샤부티가 안티네 두고세다 두고딜레 소두고스 겨두고스 초부두고스 숨이야레 소두고세디 소 비슈 까마 비슈 까마 가서 소 비슈 다지 까마 비슈 다 서베 다지 소두고세지 소두고세지 답이네 아주 다다 구샤니도 소시게 소두고세지 디제 아니 저 두고세지 리다 상게 리다 루루를 써봐 네 지 디제 된도 주변나도 시스템 봐야라 리다 루루 상게가 좀 리다 루루 쓰냐 자 자다 딘데 야라 뭐도 쓸래 저 두고세 초부 두고세지 다자고 덤바디 초부 두고래 채선도 숨생이 베지선 계획되지 어디 초부 두고세 두고들 숨이야래
겨두 가르치고
저 두고세지 자리다로 써봤는데 심지가 된다
소요 통달이야 주고고시 심지어 통달이야 겨알림 근데 아니 초주도 상계 남부신 게
다들 상계 근데 저 두고지 리달라 써봤는데 만불을 제야 했더니 그나 니나레티 저 두고야래 이네 야다 미타메 버전 페리티 웨르바 this week to be so to say so come and be shut as survey.
Really?
Oh, that is so to be the Chevy.
The pitching, well.
And then chow to sing it at that and then Taja would never say it and Gumbo made to so chow to. Or to start chow to say a thing and to Suzuki will let out me shooting in maybe. Then I do the Tanda chow to go jet to Yamarava. That Tugu said the teacher. Lungu said the Latin. Tanjiti Lungu said the Tambu Tajagutumba San Tambu Jan to Lungu was Sanchez. What is that Lungu said the Neo Nipana Shuni? I'm going to do Tuba down to it, they are the tree city, did it? No, sing it. Nobody need to go out to Jiting come. Send it, Mevada to me. To go out to the Adita, two cities long today. Or teacher Santa Lungu said the teacher. He says, well, Pabena not on ye said. Oh, the Jansa Papa Kune Musum Juisa Pabenanas not on ye said the teacher. Unju Chembo Chevames. That Unju tea that you get Unju Chimba nature when you put a shabby. Unju Chimbo tea that Chevames. 다 제반에서 lunguti 맞아. lunguti 추궁을 담부 추궁을 상계로 봐. 상계에서 추궁도 제인들이 상계시기로 봐. 어디에서 내초디 추구티제. 운주 첨부디 다 제반에서 lungu리. 운주 제네. 공부 어바미디 두구리. 제반에서 Nobody. What did you say? That Cheba Messiati, and under Cheba Messiati, Lamne to get it. Cheba to never say. Lungu sang of a theatre. Chimmy Queen. Chimmy Queen, the Cheba to never sing it together.
So, do you induce? Any. 개별치 교강인스.
아니 처음에 되기 아니 개별 봐도 쉬야지 주디 가리래서는 아니 주디를 치료겠으면 개별치 교강 치료 sem제 남지야 봐도 매매 개발이 저다디 답디 Beauty caress and a simjela. A simjela so down. Simjela Nuzipamba. Simjela so joba. Case chimba, me chimbala sobatusu. Tati chipa to me, chilling to never curva. Lines and what to series. Tardo with duty chugutiri, chuging. 다도 그때 자와티 디리기 여러분.
얘는 정말 독도한테 가르치고.
근데 추궁만도 제네 말 추기인도 공부할 때는 탈투바 탈투바디 무슨 등문도 주고리였지. 아니 무슨 뜻이겠다. 단지 추기인 세지가. 어디 가르스네디 추구인디다 산지기 산지주론디가 추구주론디 따와 디르테니다 디 아니 저선 공성 시를 공부할 때는 오늘 컴퓨터가 뒤에잖아 다 탈통인지 추구는도 제거를 봐 아니 구성년도 제거를 봐 어디 시기야
So the next verse Verse 58 and 59. The combination of the two verses basically talking about the qualities of Dharmadhatu. First, can someone help me to read the two verses? 58 and 59. Oh, okay, I can.
Together?
No,
You want to do it together?
Sure, if you wanted to. So, verse 58, please.
For
And
the
the new
ignorance, total knowledge, noble ones of forest variety, to the mighty gods who grants long life, it is the cause of life spanning kalpas of large. It is that which guides the outer realm of beings and preserves their lives as well through countless kalpas. It is that which makes it possible for life to persevere within all living beings.
So the two verses basically talking about the qualities and result of Dharmadhatu. And saying that once you really attain a Dharmadhatu, or realize the Dharmadhatu, then you're already attaining the three kayas. Of course, the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment body, and then the Nirvana Kaya, the manifestation body. Because these three wonderful the qualities of the Buddha is attained through attaining Dharmadhatu. That's where Dharmadhatu is the basis of all Buddha's quality. And then it kind of went on saying, this is because after you attend the Dharmadhatu, then you really attain, after attaining Dharmadhatu, then you really go for the Nirvana Kaya, or the Chulgu, the manifestation. For example, Buddha Shakyamuni, first he attained enlightenment through realizing Dharmadhatu. And then he really manifest and the Gyawajru. He engaged in the Nirvana Kaya, which is the Chulgu, the manifestation, and the help the sentient beings, right? First, he attained the full enlightenment through attaining Dharmadhatu, and then he appeared in different manifestations to help the sentient beings. And there are three different types of manifestations. He appeared like a great, soul, which is like a creator. Creator, not meaning, maybe not the word creator, creating things, such as the one example is the great artisan. He manifests as an artisan to help the sentient being. He manifests as an ordinary being. He takes a rebirth and help the sentient beings. We believe the current Buddha Shakyamuni is really the manifestation to really help the sentient beings. And Rinpoche also said sometimes the enlightened beings such as Buddhas, they manifest into animals to help the animals. They go into other realms. You can check that birth, so they can see, they can contact, they can feel at their level to help the sentient beings. Then there's the supreme manifestation. The supreme manifestation is the being of enlightenment form that we cannot see, but they're totally being in their essence. And so, in essence, having realized the Dharmadhatu, and then you also have the natural quality of being able to produce manifestation. And then there are three different types of manifestations, and you do that to help the sentient beings. And that's where the Dharmadhatu is the basis of these manifestations. And then the second, the Dharmadhatu is also the basis for Sambhogakaya, the enjoyment body. Because the Sambhogakayas are basically they're called the chimi, chimi or the tsibami. Here they translate grants long life. The quality of the Sambhogaya is longevity. The qualities of the Sambhogaya is the beyond the death. Kind of your kind of being is really prolonged. Then here there's a question why it is so. This is because when you were on the path to attain full enlightenment, you basically engage in two collections. First is the merit collection, right? Then you do a wisdom collection. As part of the merit collection, you have been protecting sentient beings' life. You have been saving sentient beings' life. You have been prolonging sentient beings' life, and the countless sentient beings, and you benefited to countless sentient beings. As a result of that, you attain this quality of this sustaining, the quality of some kind of a sustaining power, which kind of keep going on and no limit. Therefore, when we talk about the Sambhogaya, it immediately comes to our mind the Amitayu Buddha. Amitayu, it's like a deathless. Sometimes they say deathless, beyond the death. The Buddha, because Amitayu is really in essence is Sambhogaya, the quality of the Sambhogaya, and you attain that quality first attaining Dharmadhatu. And to engage, to attain really full Dharmadhatu, you engage in the practices of both the wisdom collections and the merit collection. And so again, in this section, when we talk about Dharmadhatu, we are also talking about the qualities of the Sambhogaya is attained in that. Nagarjuna said in above line, and he said, I dare to say that all these three wonderful qualities can be blended into one. And by realizing Dharmadhatu, you are also realizing Sambhogaya, you're realizing Nivakaya. And so because of this, and it's really talking about the qualities that we do not talk often about what is the quality of the Dharmadhatu. The quality of the Dharmadhatu is the quality of all Buddha's activity, all Buddha's qualities. And so we said the Sambhogaya, the Nivanakaya, and the also Dharmakaya. And all these three kayas are attained by practicing Dharmadhatu. And then these actually the two verses are giving you this kind of reason and explaining you why it is so. Loso. That you should have it.
Yes, sir. That in a change.
You can long chances you are missing young son.
That change. This in dinner, Janetta, Shiraptis. That any Chirashim to be Shirapti Turkey. Any change. Nyawa Messims. Shirapti, Chanju, Rimata, Nyawa Messims. Metoji, so you do count. That is in a Shirapti, said the Shirapti. Churashimiba, Dobby Shirapti, and you get tired of it. Chuyin, Rashimiba Dobby, Shirapti, Tiki, Janju, Nyoa, some Jan Tamberson, Jan Tamber Janju, Nyoa Yamaris, Janju Rio Yamaris, the Shirapti, Janju, the Nirimiba, Jan Tamber Yirimiba. 도시메가 또 베이사 되는다 뭐 녀한테 되면 야마르 안지 좋아도 뭐 메시지 봐
Yeah.
그래서 우리 이게 관계된지 제가 좀 가보면 느끼는 처음에 봤다네 처음에 봤다네 보세요 이내시 제주디 시럽디 또기 제주디 요 된다면 요 그래와 매바디 매바디 또 버리스 된다면 일이 야마르바 제주디 된다면 일이 야마르스 이 매바디 다 시럽디 또 버리스 시럽디 제주 리마다 요 미삼스 매도징 유주 양스다 된다면 매도징 템바메버스 캠버바 자 유튜브에 소소 유튜브들이 수다티로리자 수다티로리자 최세 유튜브들 봐 유튜브에 러신 유튜브야 말이스 다디 제주 dinheiro durante a banheira meta carecendo 제주 유튜브에 소소 유튜브에 durante a banheira 매번 인사 아니 제주의 일이 durante a banheira 말이스 매도진 유튜브자 저는 나 미미진스 durante a bar 나와다 durante a bar 미버야 말이스 뭐 동바 야다바 지다바시 리베주스 유튜브 등 두바티 네바티 리버리스 도바리스 근데 뭐 동바 야다바 지다바시 리버리스 도로 세다티티 유튜브 나와 매바니 야다 지신 리뷰바세티 유튜브 세티 수다티 루리자 추스 다 유튜브 세디 미시기 유튜브 수르바 나시기 유튜브 나의 유튜브 지시기 유튜브 유시기 유튜브 자 이시기 유튜브 최들바 유튜브 세디들이 수대대로 자 추스
din tunda doctor 지체이나
다 된다지 그래서는 제주 된다가 일이야 말이스 매번 그래서는 유튜브에 나와 매징스 된다버 나와 매징 야 매버디 야다버 시버리스 유튜브 나와 매번이 야다 지시 리뷰 봐서기 유튜브에 된다버 나와 매버디 야다버 리버리스 매번 인사 유튜브 때는 신기 매번 인사 제주를 된다버 일이야 말이스
And so the next verse is actually verse 61, because in that explanation of the process, we also covered verse 60 already, because it talked about the quality of this Sambhogaya. So next, 61, can you read to 61? So in this verse, Nagarjuna is really telling us, once we realized that the nature of the mind is totally like an intrinsic nature, and when we realize that, then it's kind of dissolved the concept of enlightenment being far away or being too close, because we already established every phenomenon like in the intrinsic nature. And this is why, because, for example, we kind of conceive and communicate and generate ideas, thinking of things as intrinsic nature and so on, through the six objects. So now, once we establish that every phenomenon is lacking the intrinsic nature, and then it's also dissolved our kind of mistaken views about these mistaken views coming through the six objects, the YouTube, the six object including the form, the hearing, the contact, the scent, and also the consciousness. All this now, once we establish the mind's lacking intrinsic nature, and then we also automatically establishing that these objects coming through our senses are lacking the intrinsic nature, and because of that, now the enlightenment also is we do not consider as ultimate kind of a concrete reality. It's kind of lacking the intrinsic nature, and the enlightenment is possible and realized through realizing the ultimate nature of the phenomena, including the mind, which is totally lacking the intrinsic nature. And so therefore, once we realize the nature of the mind, which is the lacking the intrinsic nature, and then kind of it's also enable us to see the things much clearly now, and seeing things clearly. We also the objects that we before we realizing this Dharmadhatu, we see the object as like a solid, concrete, and now once we realize the mind itself, the perceiver is lacking the intrinsic nature, and automatically the things that used to appear like solid and concrete are now also kind of dissolving that projection, and therefore we are already becoming like much closer to the enlightenment, and therefore going back saying enlightenment should not be far off. We shouldn't think that enlightenment is really far away. As soon as we realize the nature of the mind, enlightenment is not far away from us. We already start cracking this concrete, the solidity kind of beliefs in phenomena. So this is such, the benefit of realizing Dharmadhatu. So that's what text end up advising us. 근데 니에디 슈데 고단 근데 슈스 당연한 셈비 랭신디 디 랭신 마주디 학과인도 잠바 당연한 유그 나도서 다 지도와 그 근제디로 인도 잠바 지 추인게 당연한 디 계주 유너면디 최고 랭신고 셈비 랭신 마주 또 그래 디동도 셈들 텐샤베 다 등지 줘봐 지 유소서 지 덴버 짐베 나온데레 지도로 근데
다 자주디 된다면 일이 내게 하고 이러나 그 자주 쓰고 이제 된다면 일이 내버서는 되게 자주의 일이야 말이야 된라고 그래서는 수수기 샘기 충이 됐던 자주디도 마도나 디리 제가 된다면 자주의 일이 자주의 일이 된다면 말이야 된다면 이제는 아니 충이 동반이 되더네요. 아니 자주 터버리는 거 말아. 된다면 일이 이제는 다 단대들이 단대 자주를 된다면 일이 말이야. 그래서 유튜브에 된다면 미미바 또 인도 잠바 아니 되네 탈통인도 자주 네 자주는 일이 된다면 일이 있나 동반이 되도 말을 자주 터버디 되게 말아 다티 디서지리 디디기야
this machine.
yes
So yes, through realizing the nature of the mind, which is lacking the intrinsic nature, we are really realizing Dharmadhatu. And once we realize the Dharmadhatu, and all the objects and the projections and appearances are also changing, because now we realize that the very essence of the mind is lacking the intrinsic nature. And so the things that we appear through that is also changing, because these, like appearances and so on are dependent on our mind initially. Now the mind, we're seeing the true nature of the mind, and we're seeing the things much clearly now. And because of that, and also when we think about enlightenment, we kind of have this conventional belief enlightenment, being there as a concrete and being far away. But now we realize the true understanding Dharmadhatu, that the nature of all phenomena is like intrinsic nature. And so this like a mistaken view about the enlightenment, what we think as kind of conventional enlightenment, we think something kind of reachable. It's also, kind of changing that perception. And because of that, enlightenment, actually, the real enlightenment is not far away from us. The enlightenment is possible. Enlightenment is achievable. All thanks to understanding the Dharmadhatu.
다때는 디오마 디기 내접에 남냠술이 지 배든 분이 시작했지. 지도로만 대비 추 세도아. 어다디 그래서 지들
知道我们谈抵触
다디 선에 다 내접에 근데 남냠술한테 그래서는 디 추디 셈디제 오마디 명문부디제 다 만한주기 셈기 텐도 명문부디다 셈니부디 추당 오마디에 소리지니 네디여봐 추디 오마디 추란 실은 슈야 말이디 셈지기 텐도 방제 팀한테다 셈 그런 니가 네디여봐 단내조배 가르치게 해서는 오마디 파세 리베고 오마디 파세 추디데디 라데르바 제산다 내조배기 전에 도저티 파트 세 셈디 이시디 세바 말에 이시디 데네디여봐 자들 오마트 파세 인도 잠바데 추 당마디 레디르바 이시디 데디 레디르바 류디르바 자산진의 랑주스 랑야디 도르제트 파 도리 인도네 이시디 디마트 데 네디르바 어데디 예산 단데디 단데디기 내조베 남냠술림 주디 다다 단데디 자와디 티셔베스 디 빵자디 이시다 도르자 빵자디다 도르자 빵 녀모바디다 이시니부디 추다 오만데베 네디 아리스제 이 유나네 다 근데스 지그레스는 오마디 파세 이시디 서 말아봐 랑도 지도 좀 굉장히 지게 해서는 랑제트 파세 오마디 리베고 오마디 파동 추다 오마니 부디 카가치 버봐 어디 나시 안다네데 아랑도 시 내가 수다 추다 오마디 버나시 제니 파나니 부디 셈치기 내도 내디야 요모다 이신이 부디 다디드네 남배 오마 통화지 지금 추통화 많이 받다르스 배 대신도 유지부디 랑기 녀모바다 이시 내자 내조베 이시 내지 미시바 도레체르스 다디 오마디 랭고디 오나 오마디 이시리 자우스르바
그렇죠. 我们东亚是
어디도
도리야 도 만물 때는
어디지 어디 뒤에서 내조베 발라디 기대 지기야레스나 이 내지도 내버리디 아니 이시들레 아니 추디돌 어디 뒤집어서 방아디 어디 산데디 저디 뒤집어서.
And so from next verses from 52, we are talking about now we have been explaining the quality of the Dharmadhatu, the nature of the Dharmadhatu, and the power or the benefit of Dharmadhatu, and all this kind of good effect of the Dharmadhatu. So we already talked about it. And from next section is saying then how the yogis or yoginis really practice this Dharmadhatu. So that's the session we are. And so please can you read 52?
Just as the milk and water mixed together, present in their same container, the crane would drink the milk and not the water. The case of transformation is like this.
And so in this session, saying how as a yogis and yoginis, is it? The Nanjoba, the practitioners, how do we really intake from this all teaching? We talked about Dharmadhatu, all that. What do we do with that? And this verse is saying, like the crane, right here, the crane. Remember, crane. The cranes, traditionally in Indian legendary, the cranes can have the insight into separating between milk and water, although they're mixed in one container. And as yogis and yoginis, our mind, is mixed between the pure wisdom and also the stands. And they're kind of contained together. So as a yogis and yoginis, we should be, very carefully separating the two, really removing the stands and keeping the pure wisdom. That's what we have to do. And like it says, the cranes are able to first separate the milk and water. And then having able to separate the milk and water, and then you're kind of consuming the milk and leaving the water behind. Likewise, first we really differentiate the stands and the wisdom, and then we really take the wisdom and remove the stand. That's as the yogis and yoginis of the Dharmadhatu, what we should be practicing. And so here, what should we really preserve, which is the wisdom? Or what should we remove? The stands. And so that is the essence of the practitioner's duty, really to follow the teaching of Dharmadhatu. And that's our main purpose of practicing Dharmadhatu.
다티네 왜?
Sorry, we have been reminded it's 9 o'clock. We, Ramaji said, we wanted to keep you for half an hour more, longer. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
Schedule till 9:30.
The schedule.
Yeah. 그래.
그래서 안치도 제가 진도도.
네.
제가 도움 좀
야. 다티네 반전 임무까지 세배 탑디 가르래스나 다단데 추도만 대수나 이 제배 임바 오만 팀에 추디 파도로 임바 추디 임무까지 샤 다티 탑 강기 돌아래스다
탈시로.
아
탈시로 그거.
다 탑시디 가르래스는 되는 어디래 추 가르주래 영문부터에 탑디 가르래스는 다다 되길진가 아세디 자와디 다다 되길진가 시부가
뒤도 다데 대신 묘모기 용네 이시 류들 직내경 년저바 이시 레레 디나 니조로 침사도가 다 조절이 있어 다다 된지기 시에진데
다 데려 다다 녀몽바디 추다 녀몽 추다 많이 수술 지면 지티 추디 제 추디 걸 녀몽바디 소리 아 이시 때문에 추디 돌을 봐 녀몽바디 도와를 봐 다디 녀몽바디 도리야 그 탑디 가리 또 지도를 해스 다드네 다드 기세티 다다 다기와 다도 버티 다기와 진바니부티 왕베스 다디지 다다 다기 신 진베스 지시 치르 남다바 다미 넘버 2 통네스 취게 다음에 받다 가사게 다음에 니 통네 시베 사병 가봐 주스 시바 녀모바 녀모베 사비다 다시 녀모베 사병스나 녀모기 기지군 녀버티시게리 어다디 녀모베 사병도 가인도 아니 자준베 그만 토바를 받다 녀모도 빵바리 어디 제산다 뒷봉지기 탑대 가려서는 취기 다음에 다 가사기 다음에 또 비시를 뒤도 그런 말이스.
And so in the previous verse 62 we talked about as a practitioner what do we have to do. First we should be able to separate between the stand and the wisdom. And then actually Geshe-la went on with the 63, he covered, saying that what we should be keeping, we should really keep the wisdom and remove the stance and the afflictions and so on. And that's what a yogi should do.
Then
Sure, the 62 and 63 is covered. And now, the 63 is also covered in Geshe-la's teaching, Rinpoche's teaching, that we should really be able to move the separate and then moving the thing that we do not need, the stance and really sustaining the wisdom. And then the next verse is talking about, okay, so we have an advice what we should keep, what we should remove. And the question is how? How should we do that? So the method or the approach. And so Nagarjuna in the verse 64 is advising us. How do we do that? And so can you please read 64?
As I am mine has exist, outside as well. And both forms of substance see the existence is destroyed.
And so, yes, and how should we remove the...
지시 치를 남다바세 이도가 치를 남다바스 다제 다 비timbache 치를 세는 다 누구 더기와 치를 비수소는 미베 아니 tembal은 비timbache 여러분 어디 아니 도저히 디레스 녀모바다 이게 녀모바다 카가 치야지 봐 녀모바다 카가치 로마들레 추도 돌아인 봐 돌저기 다 녀모티 가리레스나 알레 탑가리 제버레스 제버봐 녀모티 탑가리 돌아제스 도와제버레스 봐 디는 디냐가 알레 도리아기 녀모바디 디레스 다다 시르 다기와 진베 젠바이 나시 신베 젠바티 왕제티리스 다티 냠부터 가르레스는 아니 취기 다음에 마다 가사기 다음에 통화디 총알을 때는 빵거리스.
So, Nagarjuna is saying, now we know what to do. We have to remove the stains or affliction and really shine the wisdom. And before we doing that, he said, when we talk about the stains or affliction, what are we talking about? He said the stains and affliction comes to this I, right? And the I and the mind. These are the two manifested by the affliction, self-grasping mind. These two we have to remove. This is the equivalent of the dirt in our mind, equivalent of the stains. If you remember, we used analogy of milk and water. So these are the things that in the water we have to get rid of, the I and the mind from our streams. And then saying, how do we do that? And then Nagarjuna went on to say that when we really see the selflessness of a phenomena and the selflessness of the self, the true self, and when we really tackle and attack the true selves, and then we can remove the I, the stance of the I and the mind. And once we're able to do that, and then we already started really digging out the seed or the root causes of samsara. The root causes of samsara is the I or the mind mistaken view. And how do we really do that? Through kind of practicing shunyata, wisdom emptiness, we're able to remove these two things. And by merely removing these two, the concept of I and the mind, we already really attacking the root of the samsara. So that's a benefit of such practices. Long.
Nyamu bahasa di pangjati, nyamu toriatila, tagiwa tadu nimbizimba, tagiwa nimbizimba siniche, tadu nimbizimba seati, tara shimbeba, pena namba shiba tuba ziniti tagiwa, tadu zimba namba shiba ga tadu zimba. 다기와 세야지 다풍부 시행시부디 다기와 미기 소기 남바시부디다 다두진게 인진석이 시디 남바시바가 다든진 사체 네 소의 풍부스냐 뒤시기 풍부스 뒤지기 풍부스 다디게 풍부 시행시부 지열바 디다 아니 말한들 나와지 세야도 수간 걸로 들이 다기와리 짐바지 다디 디네는
남신 마블 자신 풍문나 자신 두어 봐. 풍문나가 단데 남시 풍부디 다체 심시디게 되기지.
다 짐비시디 남시 풍부지. 남시 풍부는네 다두지 다두지 단지기. 네 남시가 너무 주저대 그래서 다기와시게. 나란지 너무 주저대 나란지 다기와시게 봐. 이게 다 그래서 봐. 어디 농주도스라. 어디 풍부신시바 선배다. 수수 농주제 가양가 다기와시게. 수수비 교자라 가르치는 다기와시게. 네. 다 이게 농주제는 아니. 템바timbe tin지게 인구로 다기와지면 봤게. 어디 인사다 이게 너무 떨어져야 떨어졌지 너무지 되리스 다 던진비지 맞다 다기와지 좀 많이 되지 Tati panda di kinderisini, tati dame bani to baratine. Chugi dame da gasa dame. Gasa dame seti dala gasa dame seti chugi dame seti menala sobatu su temba me batele chugi dame seti. Gasa tembe tunga dele gasa dame seti. Chugi dame seti gasa le shimbe tu su tatu tunga dele chugi dame seti. Ta kanje di gasa tatu me bata chugi tatu me bata damini to be share digi to ki ane bambari is.
So in this advice, Nagarjuna said that when we talk about afflictions in the stands, what are we talking about? We're talking about two things, I and mind, right? And then how do we really overcome or eradicate these two selves? And Nagarjuna said, through practicing and through realizing the true selflessness. And so the first is the selflessness of a person. When we realize the selflessness of the person, we are really directly attacking this concept of I. Usually, when we talk about the 5 aggregates, this is very interesting. First time I heard from Rinpoche, we talk about the 5 aggregates. And the first aggregate is the aggregate of consciousness. And that's the I, the aggregates of the consciousness is the I, belong to the I. And the remaining, the 4 aggregates, and the feeling, the form, and so on. The remaining, the 4 are belonging to the mind. So belonging to the selflessness of phenomena. So the selflessness of a person equals to the consciousness, which conceives the I. And then the selflessness of a phenomena, is the 4 remaining aggregates. And when we really see very clearly the true nature of the phenomena, which really lacking any sense of self, equal to lacking intrinsic nature. When we see that the I is lacking the intrinsic nature, right? And the same way we're seeing the mind or the other aggregates, objects, the objects that's also lacking intrinsic nature. Then we're realizing the true selflessnesses. And through that, we're really removing that affliction that Nagarjuna talked at before, which is being the stain to our wisdom mind. And so, in essence, Rinpoche said, first we recognize what are the kind of stains. The stains are I and mind. And how do we really remove them? Through understanding this true selflessness, this direct opposite of these two. When we practice that, we are able to remove them. And when we're able to remove that, we already cut ourselves from the samsara, the root of the samsara.
Tati zawadi gangjira sanje nyangen des. Tiribar?
Real.
Tati ta yishi lenji mishi ba dore guzen temba. Ta yishi di len mishi ba de dore ba. Tati doya di she tsari ba. Ta na yishi ba len ko ya lenji mishi ba de dore guzen kare resena. Tati ne nenjori yishi len ba gangjira shinas. Tati sanje sange chugi buti yanele devas ta sange gi ani karasure sange chugi buti yanele deva ta sange gi chugi buti yanele devaris chida yangesena nyemola yanges je 양년이 님은 뭐 연았지. 대세디 뒷방발스 게르바. 산지 양엘이 대바세디. 산지 주고만 토인도 양엘이 대스게르바. 양대세디 양엘이 님은 버렸지. 뒷방발에서 양엘이 대스게르바. 그래서 산지지 추구들 양대시그리스. 양대시그리스는 양엘이 방 세구비르바. 그래서 그래서 그래. 산지 추기구디 양엘이 대바. 님뭐 바자다 제바 양대 치를 장와. 다 산지기 추구디라 양엘이 대바시기 그래. 장와시기 그래. 아니 따바 시와스제 민게 남자들 시도가 다들 디세고 여러분들 가르쳐서는 산제 양안에 대해서 자와 따바 계획 취시 강기치 등이 집에 안에 뒤뜨 있어 봐. 야. 이마 어디요? 그래.
뭐라고 다 그래. 강치 상계 양내 대해서 봐. 강치 자와 따버 계획시.
다디래. 다 강치스. 다 등이 어디디래. 다 이시련지 미시버들 규정 때문에 내조 이시련바 강기 치르스 다 내조를 보기 이시련야디 가르쳐서는 산기기 취기 꾸디 영안에 되버리스 너무 바빠져서 제바 양바 인상 빵바 인상 장와리스 아니 그런데 대면 양반이도 아니 또시 민지바 인상 딱바시기야리스 딱바시장 죄비 인상 라신기 계신 넘버 다바 인상은 계시스 교화시기야리스 라신기 교화를 봐 추구디 아니 계시 넘버 다바 인상 아니 계시시기야리스 임베체를 렘바우스 때 캐주시부디 렘바 인상 아니 상기 추구디 렘고야 디리스 추구들네 영어부터 도리야디 교제디디도
근데 근지 니는 집에 딱 뒤에 님은 내조를 냈으디
다디 단데디 찍으셨어 달리 첨부티
아니 현지 근지 니는 따고다지 월마르
아니
자대디나냐 아니디 시간이름도 경기를 상계 양에 대 자와 따버 계획시 주거를
계획시에서 되잖아 다디 알레든디 디제비는
그래서 인지나 디럽되는데 인지나 교투시 강 지문지시 그분 뭐야 그래서 쇼가 소교는 뭐야 다디 근데 돼야 돼 그래 하고
다디 세는다 디 꼭디스 가르사
강치를 니네 집에 딱
강치
님이 내줬네
다디 강치를 니네 집에 딱 쓰다 매장하다 장화세 집안은 풍부장 다도 따와 진배 친절로스 다 집안은 풍부를 풍부 매장하러 봐 지단 양엘에 대해 장하러 봐 인바다 맞춰베제 집안은 풍부장을 했다 다 봤다 다바에서 집안은 풍부장 다도 진배 친절로 인라스 다 번진네 친절로 레스 야라는 녀목이 풍부 메다바 동에 동담이 뒤시바니 나말라 때네 친지 말로 봤어 다 녀랑디 아니 명목이 풍부 메타바 다 간지 명목이 풍부 메타바스다 데 간지 랭이주 우주 풍부지 메타바제 동아와제 동아 다음에 봤을 때는 동해대 메켜줄 수 시야르바 띵이랑 공기야르바 띵인선은 가말을 뜨지 치지 말아 버렸어 가말을 뜨지 지발을 뜨지 치지 말아 버렸지 산jel을 뜨지 다 자외 추구를 뜨지 치지 로도 그러지 자외 다 추구를 뜨지 치지 로래 그래서는 얘랑기 라진지기 상대 생네 네 딱이 yarba 라진지기 상반 말로 버봐 내면 산jel을 뜨지 치지 로그레스게 진짜 나마 지발을 뜨지 치지 말로
상견 된 친지로
다시 지발을 뜨지 말 지발이 풍부 따바지 풍부 장아지 풍부 따바지 yarba 얘랑기 풍부 매정 풍부 동아 다음에 봐 그 따와 인사 들을 때 치지 말로 버리스 아니 상계의 주부 양을 대봐 너무 빠져다 잡아 양배체 장 저들이 야외 주구를 뜻이 친절로 교지 좀 니들다라 상계 남자 동방이 시나마 통화 탐제 침배 이식이 대시시베 추주고의 친지로도 교반로 락수 시작아 추구 다다 장으로 뒤셔버니 친지 말로바디 좀 된데 따발 뒤시 대월 뒤시 다도 뒤시 상원 뒤시베 심제 대단히 좀 된데 기투데 예배 셀라수 좀 된데 대단히 양다부 통한다수 추구 다도 메티 슈덤제다 와다디 레와디 지시는
So first 65 we only wanted to go to the first second line. Can you please read the first second line of the 65?
The Dharmadhatu is the ground for Buddhahood, nirvana, purity, and permanence.
So here Rinpoche explained that Nagarjuna talked about what should we remove, what should we shine or preserve. And he identified that we should remove the afflictions. And the afflictions are I and the mind. And through realizing the true selflessness, the selflessness of a person and the selflessness of a phenomenon. And so that is the removing part. And then as the kind of a crane, which, separates the water and the milk and remove the water, takes the milk, what wisdom should we, take or preserve? And so this is the true line we're talking about. See, what are the, the wonderful qualities of the Dharmadhatu that we should really, for us, is the kind of to preserve, right? And so the Dharmadhatu is basically also used as a nirvana. Nirvana, one of the quality of the Dharmadhatu is nirvana. Nirvana in Tibetan is beyond death, beyond demise. Direct, literal translation. Nirvana is beyond death, beyond demise. Because the death and the demise is more like affliction. So nirvana is beyond affliction. That's what it means. Nirvana. Dharmadhatu is beyond affliction. That's quality in one of the kind of essential quality of the Dharmadhatu. That we should really cherish. Also, it's sometimes we use the word pure or purity to define Dharmadhatu. Because it's pure, because it's totally devoid of stain or affliction. And that purity is something we go after. And as well as it talk about permanence. Permanence here is a little bit different from what we consider permanent nature. Permanence is here is not meaning, not changing, but it's being there. And so I don't want to talk too much about nirvana being permanent, because then it kind of easily mistaken for the concept of the permanence that we deploy. Here, the concept of the permanent is not exactly what we see permanent. It's just a kind of a conned word to describe some element of the Dharmadhatu, meaning that it doesn't, permanence, meaning it doesn't fall back. Permanent in the sense that it's not going to fall back into lower realms and so on. But it doesn't mean it's unchanging. It's not mean unchanging, because this will come back later. So when we talk about and when we describe Dharmadhatu, we say Dharmadhatu is nirvana, Dharmadhatu is purity, Dharmadhatu is permanence. So all these are basically talking about the wonderful quality or the wisdom of Dharmadhatu. That's something that we should really preserve. That's something we should cherish. And then how do we cherish these? We can only cherish these when we're able to remove the afflictions, right? We're able to cherish this wonderful quality of the Dharmadhatu when we're able to remove the stains, the concept of I and the mind and so on. And then 일단 이 당부 시간 당부 이 주고 제세 기분이 근데 주고 되게 모두 개부르셔. 단 이날 시간이 있어. 진짜 단 제세 기분이 강실 상계 양에 대해 따와 답을 개시서 좀더 개사비. 근데 주고 되게 개부르 가지고
다들 지도를 잘해.
그렇죠. And the Sunni Yangyadu.
그래.
So we will explain the remaining 2 lines tomorrow.